Oh, right. I said, I better just leave. Don't fall down.
Thanks, Tyler. That was just a small.
So are we, sir, is it time when you start? So, guys, it's 9 o'clock. And thank you for coming, everybody. I just want to call this meeting to order and just acknowledge that we are on the Status traditional territory on a beautiful day here in June. So just item number 3, introduction of late items. Is there anybody that'd like to introduce a late item? I think Gary, you had something, yes?
Yeah, I'd like to see if we could investigate more on Bear Smart, like containers and how refuge is stored on people's properties. I know a lot of people we're all told to, put things in your garage, but a lot of people are not. And I think if we invite bears or attract bears into the community, they end up being dead. Eventually, we have a mother and 2 cubs running around, and I think they're going to be instilled in garbage bears. They'll turn to be garbage bears, and I think we need to do a bit more as a community. If we can, I know some people can and some people can't store their garbages away. I know I've built my own containers and I put my garbage containers in. Not everybody can do that, but yeah. I think if there's something we can do to help.
Sure. Okay. So, so Gary would like to add a 4th item then under section 6. We'll call it. I guess we should vote on that. So Gary's introduced a late item. We'll just call it the Bear Smart late items. Any discussion about that? I'm sorry?
A seconder?
I'll second.
Yeah, we need a seconder. Thank you. Any discussion at all? Okay, all in favor of adding that item? Okay, good. Carries. Are there any other late items? Sherry or Susan or Paul?
I think Johnny had something about the poop bag thing.
About the poop bag, yes, okay. We'll call it the poop bag item. Do we have a seconder for the poop bag item? Yeah, Susan, seconded by Susan.
Sorry,
Can we have?
it was Paul? Paul?
Yeah, we'll call it the poop bag item. I think that'd look great on the minutes.
Dog
item.
bag?
Yeah. All right. All in favor of adding that? Yeah. Okay. And that's item E. Are there any other late items for anybody? No? Okay, good. All right. So let's get into it then. Oh, we need to approve the agenda. So the agenda as amended. Would do I have a seconder to approve the amended agenda? Thank you, Paul. Seconded. All in favor? Thank you. Carries unanimously. Item number 5, adoption of the minutes from April 25th. We had a pretty good meeting. Any concerns there at all? Adoption of the minutes? Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, I have to apologize. Under the call to order and the land acknowledgement, we're moving to a new template. So it says Chair Straffa called the meeting to order at 7 p.m. It's not correct. So I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes adopt the minutes as amended with corrections to the call to order and the land acknowledgement there. Sorry about that. We're just moving over to a new template. So should say Councillor or Chair Schweinbenz called the meeting to order at 9 a.m.
Oh, I've been replaced.
Yes, sorry, the APC was the first template. And then the second one should say Chair Schweinbenz as well.
Should we do a vote on the job I'm doing? We can do that. Sure. So do we have approval of the minutes as amended? As seconder, Gary, any discussion about that? I have a quick thing that I'd like to follow up on, and that is corporate officer item number E, hazardous waste collection day. I think staff was going to, we were hoping to do that this spring, and staff was going to research that. Do we have an update on that, or should we add that? Sure, go ahead.
Provide an update. Yeah. So for that item, I think we were looking at doing it in the fall. Okay. And then we've done some preliminary research. Apparently the Return It Recycle Depot in Agassiz takes it for free, but they won't take it from us. They take it for free from residents. So we're still doing a little bit of research into that, because it might just be, if they would agree to it, having the village collect it and then take it.
Great.
So that's an idea that we're exploring right now, instead of having a company come in, it can be quite expensive.
Okay,
But no solid plans as of yet, still kind of exploring the option of getting household hazardous waste over to the one in NBC.
right. Maybe we can
Yeah.
make it a group effort or something like that. So next meeting, maybe we can have an update on
Yeah,
something
yeah.
more solid. Okay,
Christy
thank
is
you.
spearheading that one.
Okay, so adoption of the minutes. Did I have a seconder? Sorry, adoption of the minutes from the last, yeah, Gary did. Any discussion, any other discussion about that? Okay, all in favor of adoption? Thank you. Carries unanimously. Okay, item 6, items for discussion. Item A, Earth Day in May, debrief. I really appreciate the effort of staff and of you guys to attend that and to organize that. It was our first stab at this. I thought it was good. The weather didn't cooperate. We weren't in the venue that we wanted to be. But I would like, if you guys are open to it, to make it an annual event. I think it's kind of rallies the community to some of the causes we're working on. So I'm hoping to make it better, and I'm looking for ideas from this committee as to how we can make better. And I'm open to ideas from the staff as well, if there's anything. So I'll start around the table. Does anybody have anybody want to start at all?
So,
Yeah, sorry.
so I guess we would have to ask council if they bless us. If they would bless it, or, give it the okay to continue.
Oh, do we need
I
a
would
motion?
imagine it's up to council to,
Okay,
Earth
sorry,
Day in May.
corporate officer.
If I could jump in, I think one thing we should consider putting on the agenda is the annual work plan. So that'll be something that the committee will be developing as part of the new council procedure bylaw. And we can incorporate Earth Day in May into the 2026 work plan, and
Okay.
then that would get approved by council or reviewed by council. But yeah,
Do you need a motion to that, or?
I think if it's okay with you, what I'll do is I'll put work plan on the next agenda, because we have some time, we're only about halfway through the year.
Okay.
And then the committee can maybe have some time to think about ideas for the work plan.
Okay, okay.
Some ideas for the work plan, and then we can start drafting one and bring one for the committee to consider based off of the discussion.
And our work plans due on an annual basis for council to consider, to bless the Gary's.
I believe the wording in the procedure bylaw off the top of my head is that the committee may develop one, so council will consider any that the
Okay.
committee develops,
Great.
so, yeah.
Okay. Consider us blessed, almost blessed. Ideas, let's make it a round table. Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Our original plan was to do it outdoors, and we had to do it indoors. Now, I see some real opportunities doing it indoor. And some of the things I seen was good was networking, and we could have some short presentations if we did it inside. But the other part is that we'd probably have a better profile outside. So I'm kind of weighing the two balls of inside or outside, what we do, and like I say, people didn't know we were in the hall. Do we have to bring some great big trees and stick them outside the hall or something?
Yeah. Maybe.
That's just some of the things that, how do we raise the profile and get people to know we're in the hall when we're in the hall, or outside if we're outside. And the other thing that I felt was really good, it was networking with all of the other groups within the area, and some way we have some group discussions or something, an agenda. Inside you can do it, outside it's a little more difficult, so that's something that the committee.
There's benefits to being inside.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world at all.
No,
Maybe it's a
so-
benefit.
You could have visual presentations, and we could set a set of chairs and have, discussions on certain things like Bear Smart or Fire Smart or something, and have, say, at 10 o'clock, we're gonna have a discussion about this. At 10:30, we're gonna have a discussion about something else. That's just some ideas I had.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, you brought up a good point there at Memorial Hall. There's the side lawn as well, so you can incorporate indoor, outdoor if you're at Memorial Hall, right? You have an opportunity to use both avenues.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, we even have a big covered area that we could dress up a little bit underneath the canopy.
But I think definitely we didn't have enough advertising for it.
Yeah,
And maybe that's something we can look at next year, adding more of that in, making sure all the schools know about it, like the Agassiz schools, Harrison School really know about it so that they can bring their kids to it. So I just think that was something we really missed this year because the displays were fantastic, in my opinion. Like there was so much great information there, and I would hate to see it not continue, but I think we just need to get the word out that it's happening. And this is the first year, right? We were experimenting with it, but I think knowing what we know now, and now that we're coming up with work plan and things like that, we can really make sure that the community around is really aware of it.
yeah. Gary, there's a train in your back. Susan, you hit on something two things that I was wondering about too, is the kids. Like, wouldn't it be great if we could get the school involved somehow? And it'd be challenging on a Saturday, but they're probably working on environmental projects, or they could work on environmental projects that they could present, or as a group that get the kids involved. I think would be a great idea. Frankly, I was kind of paying attention to that. Not one person under the age of 18 showed up. So that's on us for advertising, that sort of thing. So I'd love to get the kids more involved, get the school involved, and challenge them to do an environmental project, and they can have a booth or something like that and present their ideas. And also, you mentioned advertising. I think we could have done a lot better job of advertising for sure. So, and you know, would it be helpful? Like, I noticed that the Communities in Bloom have, I think, their own Facebook page. Should we have our own Facebook page, and we can better control some of the advertising that we have? What do you guys think of that? Maybe we can
I think
think
it's a
about
good idea.
having our own Facebook page that we could, you know, so we're not relying on staff so much to push it out. I know in the week before the Earth Day in May, I was telling people, let's advertise that more. I would have liked to have seen it more prominently on social media, so maybe we can control that better next year. So any other ideas at all, or Jerry, Gary, anything else? Vendors,
Sounds good to me.
should we ask some of our vendors if they have any ideas, or? Oh, sorry.
I had talked to a few, and I said, would it be okay if we asked you, I said I'd bring it up at this committee, maybe to have them come in and do a little presentation to us on things that we might be able to help them with to promote their projects.
Yeah. Are there any vendors that you guys would like to see in here for a meeting or in a Zoom call?
Well, just about all the vendors that I talked to at our Earth Day in May were open to it. They were actually excited about it. They said they'd love to come in and talk to us about the things that they do to, you know, help the environment.
Okay. That's what I liked about that day, is a lot of great networking, a lot of great conversations had, for sure. Anybody else, Jace or Fred, anybody?
I think enhancing the promotion, I like Susan's idea of targeting schools, raising awareness that way. I think that's really good. And yeah, targeting certain groups and individuals that they might have an interest in. So yeah, I think putting it in the work plan, so the committee kind of knows February, March to start ramping up for it, sending out the invitations early for displays and people. And the idea of like having it indoor, outdoor, especially if someone wants to give a talk on something like Paul's suggesting. I think that's really great. All those are good ideas.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe even ask the schools to put on a little talk. If they're,
They do have salmon in the classroom here, so we could. They do have salmon in the classroom here.
Yeah.
So
Right, yeah, I would love.
they could come talk about what they do.
Yeah.
For the salmon.
Yeah.
Interesting.
putting it in the work plan just allows lots of lead time, and then I think staff can just do the things in advance, so it's organized and coordinated, and then, yeah, I look forward to a really successful one, and we'll get a weather forecast and put that in the work plan for a sunny.
Are you guys happy with the time of year, Earth Day, May, first Saturday in May, around there, depending on when Easter lies and all that stuff? Everybody okay with that? Amanda, did you?
Yeah, sure, if I could, I think it was the first year, so, knowing what we know now, I think, yeah, having like a schedule of events might help with the advertising so that people understand what is going on. Instead of it being like a vague sort of like, come out and learn about the environment, it's a little bit vague, but if you have a schedule of events, it might attract more people. One thing that I always try to do to attract people is like free food, so. Advertising like free food, or if we can work it into the work plan and get a council approval to have a bit of budget for some food. I found that helpful to get increase in participants. The other thing I was gonna say, I know Hope Mountain Center does programs for kids at Manning Park in the amphitheater there. And they might be a group to reach out to for next year if you're trying to get an increase in participation from children. They do specific presentations about various environmental things and, you know, insects and all that kind of stuff. So they might not be a bad group to reach out to next year. And then you could advertise that, you know, at 10:30 they're going to be doing this in the plaza or wherever. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be a great idea. Yeah, they could have a little amphitheater type thing.
Yeah.
Did we not invite them though? I think we invited the Hope.
I'm not too sure. I would have to double check.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was all very late. That's, you know, it was our first one.
Yeah.
So now we know. I had a note. Oh, sorry, is there anything else?
I was just gonna say on the food subject, maybe we could have a pancakes from Mayor Talon.
This paddle?
Big white hat.
Bigfoot shape.
Oh, yeah, you could be.
Well, let's see how I do on Canada Day, because I've been asked by the fire chief to help flip or serve pancakes. I think the resort's helping out with that, so I'll be doing that at the fire hall, I think, by Canada Day. Let me do a dry run first before I volunteer for that, right?
Yeah. I have a note here saying expand to neighboring municipalities. You know, do we get District of Kent involved? Maybe they've got some, you know, they were there for the pool, and I think that was great. That was good, but they may have an environmental committee. I don't know if they do, but do we open it up to District of Kent? I mean, after all, they're surrounded by their environment as well. So, you guys, any thoughts on that at all, or?
Can we find out if they do? And if they do, shouldn't we meet with them?
Sure, but I think staff probably has a relationship with your counterparts. Do you know, or?
I don't believe that they have an environmental committee. I'm trying to recall what they have. I know they have like a agricultural committee.
Oh.
I'd have to double check the full list of their committees. It should just be on their website.
Yeah, but Sherry, do you have contacts?
I asked a question.
Yeah,
If they do, shouldn't we meet with them?
sure.
Shouldn't we find out if they do? And if they
Yeah,
do?
okay.
Another suggestion, if you wanted more children to turn out for the May Day, face painting, food and face painting.
You got that, Amanda? I think that's a good.
The big draws.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
big draws, they wanna be butterflies, bugs and
Yeah,
trees,
that's
right?
cute, yeah.
Good idea. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is about the next generation, for sure. Absolutely. So these are great ideas. Amanda, how do we get these ideas into, do you need a motion to adopt these ideas? Or like, how do we circle around so that when we develop a work plan for the next day in May, we can refer to these?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll put these in the minutes, and then for the next meeting, we'll have work plan on there, and then we can start coming up with a bit more of a solid framework, and then staff can take that and look at whether there's any budgetary items associated with that and work that into the work plan as well. Yeah, we'll go from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody okay with that? Anything else then on Earth Day in May debrief? And thank you again for staff and for you guys for participating. I thought it was a really good first start. Anything else? No? Okay. So, item B, the tree planting area walk. We've had a couple. First one was just Gary and I and his dog. And it was lovely. It was a rainy day actually, but I had a nice walk. Gary and the dog, what's the dog's name again?
Abby,
Abby, yes. Abby led us along to all these different areas, probably peed on a few of the trees that we're trying to save, right? So we, Gary and I did along Harrison Hot Springs Road, and we identified probably 100 areas where there should be trees and more tree canopy. And then last Friday, I think it was Susan and Paul and Johnny and I, we walked around the village and put about 7 kilometers on our shoes, I think. It was pretty good. And found also lots of opportunities along boulevards and in Spring Park and different areas where there's opportunity for trees. So, you know, how do we put this into action, I guess is the next big question. And do you guys want to continue these walks and finding areas? I've got a map that I have collated here so far. Jace, do I need to get that to you, and how do
I think having a map would be really great. At least it identifies locations, like if we have any trees that need to be planted, at least we have an idea of some that have been identified. And then for larger scale plantings, we're always looking at grant opportunities. So once we can keep this in like our records, and once like a grant opportunity comes available, then we even being able to use this in the grant application as well, so we have some potential ideas and can help us with the application and actually implement it. So it's a bit of a waiting period until the right grant comes up that's applicable to the specific plantings, but it's definitely good to have in our records.
Okay, so you guys want to continue these walks, and I think probably do a couple more and we'll get the village done.
Yeah.
So, okay with that? Maybe do one next week or something like that. Yeah. One of the things that came up, Jace, maybe I'll ask you, is we discussed having a flowering tree boulevard. Like a lot of the Victoria and other smaller communities, they have cherry trees along certain prominent boulevards, and we were trying to brainstorm as to if we could do something like that, and where would it be? I think we came up with some ideas along Chehalis, Spruce, was it? Not Spruce.
Yeah, and I noticed the road to the boat launch.
Yeah, that's Spruce. Yeah,
Yeah, that's the one.
or maybe along here. I don't know, any ideas about that, or anything? Any other comments about?
Has there been any interest in Lillooet West? That is something that we're going to be looking at as the beautification plan.
Yeah, we didn't walk that because I know there's some sort of a plan that that will involve trees, but we'd like to, I think as a group, we decided we'd like to see that plan when, have a look at it and be able to comment on that if we could.
Yeah, we're currently working on the renderings right now. So once those are done, we can present it to the committee as well. So we can kind of see and take feedback and comments as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an ideal walk to do. When we have the renderings and some more information to work with.
How far out are we from that?
I can get an update. We had like just a basic overview plan. It wasn't as in depth, but yeah, I know the consultants are working on the renderings, so I can do a follow up and see when.
You think this summer? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I've been looking at what other municipalities are doing. I found one in Ontario, a place called Halton Hills, which is not far from where I grew up, actually. Halton Hills is a suburb of Toronto. It's between Milton and Hamilton. And they've got a kind of a unique program where they incentivize citizens to get involved, and they have some kind of a discount on trees at participating nurseries, and citizens can come pick up their tree. That allow 1 or 2 trees per year, and it has to be a certain type of tree, has to be a certain area, distance away from buildings and that sort of thing. But I would like to see us adopt something like that and get some action going on this tree canopy idea. I think if we're not careful, we could just be spinning our wheels and not planting trees. So we need to make it easy for ourselves, for our staff, and for citizens to participate and to help get involved in increasing our tree canopy. So what do you guys think of that? Can we maybe do some research on how that could work in this community?
I think
Yeah.
we discussed, last time that a voucher system to pass out, for example, perhaps in the future at at the next day in May,
Yeah,
Thursday in May, have a voucher.
okay,
Or that you have to belong to the community if you attend, and we'll give you a voucher. If they can arrange some sort of
I love that
agreement
idea. Yeah,
with a nursery.
yeah,
I think we discussed that last time, but we didn't have enough lead time this time.
Right.
because I think the meetings only started in February. I mean, you're only human, right? But.
I know it's optimistic.
Pull it out your butt, pull it out.
That's the-
I know, it's-
But a voucher at an event like that.
they do something
encourage
like that.
people- Would
this-
encourage people to both attend. Maybe you have to listen to a presentation, a planting presentation before you get your voucher.
No tree for you.
No
and
choice
that's-
for you. And, but the trick is to find a local nursery because you want to be local. And then again, it comes down to money
Yeah.
and size and all of that. But I think that is one way to get your attendance up as well as. Because you
Okay,
can't be giving away trees to people from Surrey and Mission and Langley and
right,
that
right. It has to be for-
that doesn't serve your purpose.
Okay, so may I suggest maybe a motion to this effect then, to direct staff to investigate a tree voucher program for our citizens? Would this group be okay with something like that? Or,
I think it's a little more complicated than just issuing a voucher. You, first of all, would need the village somewhat to identify that that's a good spot to plant a tree before you start issuing vouchers. That's my opinion, I think.
In the personal yard?
Well,
He said with
In your
instructions,
yard.
he said a
Yeah.
specific type of tree with how close and how far, with instructions.
Well, they'd have to get approval then that, okay, you can put a tree here, this is far enough from the house, this is, okay, and now what type of tree? But if you're gonna give away a voucher, you have more responsibility rather than just citizens buying a tree. So it's worth exploring, but I think it's a little more complicated than just putting out a voucher. And I think, I would like to see if I love the idea of having people have more trees on their properties. But with the new builds, there really needs to be a responsibility of the village in making sure there's enough green space on people's properties. Right now, the new builds are going to almost the edges of the property, and there's no rules or laws regarding the amount of green space that has to exist on a lot. So those are just some of the considerations.
Well, also when we read that, I think Christie had sent out a list of the trees that were approved by, somebody did a report of fire smart trees. And we ran into the distance issue. And the way they're building now with postage stamped lots, there are going to be treeless lots because of the policies.
There's just no room.
There's no room if you follow all that, but.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of stick to public areas then.
okay,
Cause if the lot's not big enough, I think, what was the shortest one, 6 meters?
It's not that the lots
6
aren't,
meters.
it's not that the lots aren't big enough. I'm pretty sure the bylaws cover, or the building bylaws cover, you can only cover so much of the lot with your building. But it's the amount of asphalt they add afterwards that causes the problem.
No, there was specific
Because
planting
they
from the
cannot build
house.
a house to fill the lot and not allow some kind of green space or space.
Well, I couldn't find anything in any of the bylaws that restricted like a building to say 60%
Well, there's
of
setbacks, there's
the.
all kinds of setbacks that are incorporated, so, I mean, they control how big the building is on the lot, but it doesn't control how much area people can pave out and use for parking or put rock
Yeah, I
in
couldn't
or
find that
whatever
in
it
the
is.
bylaws, a percentage, like it's a simple math calculation.
Yeah,
right? The
but-
lot can't exceed 60%, 40%.
Well,
has
there
to
you
be
go.
green
There's
space or
there's
something
your
like that.
60%.
But I just made that, I'm just giving that as an
No,
example.
but I think it is 60%. If I remember,
Is it 60%?
I think it varies per zone, I'd have to double check, it's in the zoning bylaw, every zone would have a set lot coverage and setback distances for the front, back and sides.
actually, the CAO Tyson was here. I think he was even at our last meeting, and he
Yeah.
mentioned that the buildings could not take up the whole space. It has to be,
Right.
yeah. And then, but he says they don't control how much can be paved out or land,
Right, but to Sherry's
That's-
point, it could be asphalt around the perimeter of the
for-
60%, and then there's not a tree inside.
And there's not a tree inside this. I don't know, do we recommend to the council to maybe look at the bylaw and maybe put a bylaw in effect that says on your lot, you have to have a percentage of green space? Or somewhere in that development, there needs to be so much green space
I think that's more practical.
for, plantings or, a swing set or a picnic table, somewhere where the community or the little community can gather and enjoy themselves. I don't know if we push that up the line to council and ask them to
And
visit
there is
that. I
a
don't know.
money in lieu of green space
Yeah.
rule that
Yeah.
allows.
So, yeah, go ahead.
A couple of things.
Oh, sorry.
I think
There's on private property.
There might be three ideas sort of blending around here. There's the building footprint size. And then there's whether there's hardscaping or green or trees around. Geez, is there any bylaws about landscaping for just R1, R2 that have to be followed?
I know like a landscape plan is submitted, which has to be approved, is it correct?
So it depends.
It
It
depends,
depends
yeah.
on what you're building, so
Yeah.
if you have an R1 lot or an R2 lot and you're not coming to council for like a zoning amendment, or an OCP amendment, and that we don't have anything to do with it other than a planning review when the building permit is issued. So, if you have a regular, single family dwelling lot, you submit your building permit through FBRD, and then it just depends on what you're building, we might do like off-sites, but there's not typically landscaping involved in anything other than a development permit or a zoning amendment permit. A zoning amendment bylaw. I know that there are changes coming to the zoning in the OCP. I kind of feel like if this is the way the committee is going, then it might be beneficial to either have Ken attend a meeting, because he's really the expert on the zoning and OCP. So he would definitely be able to speak to how much the local government can regulate green spaces on a lot when it's just kind of like a building permit situation perhaps through the zoning bylaw.
So it sounds to me like maybe we need a review of bylaws and maybe OCP to ensure that it aligns with this committee's wishes for more green space and trees and that sort of thing. Is that?
Would you like me to invite our planning consultant to the next meeting to speak
Yeah,
on green
you guys okay with
space
that?
and what can or can't be done
Yeah.
by the local government? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I believe it's not until the fall that we're
Yeah,
going
'cause
to
I'm
see actual amendments.
Okay, do you need a motion to that, or you can just invite them?
That's okay, I
Yeah.
can.
My point was is that a lot of
And,
lots aren't big enough.
Sorry, Sherry. No, go ahead. Share with everybody.
My bad.
No, that's okay. Don't go ahead and share with everybody.
The other thing that runs into landscaping and green and trees is the fire smarting, and they'll tell you,
That
they
was
don't
my
want
point.
anything combustible within
That was my point.
1.2 meters,
Lots
5
are too
feet.
small for trees.
And they act, the fire smarting will say, don't have anything around against your house for 5 feet or some metric distance.
That was my point. and that's
so-
another independent regulating people's buildings.
It's, yes, trees are great if they're in the right place and the right tree, but it's, I think it's more involved than just that, because there's other
Yeah.
factors that come
Yeah.
into play.
Fire Smart would rather us pave the perimeter of a building.
Well, I think within a certain distance
Yeah.
of the side of the building. Yeah, the immediate zone, 0 meters to 1.5 meters, so 5 feet. They really like nothing combustible.
That's what my,
If you
that's
follow that
exactly what
guy.
my point was, is that the lots that they're building and the mass lots
Yeah.
that they're building are so small that it will not allow for an individual person to plant a tree because there isn't enough distance from the building to where the tree is allowed to be planted. That was my point, and somehow we got into.
So the
meeting.
fire smart aren't
Yeah.
rules.
No, they're guidelines,
They're
yes.
guidelines,
And
but
policies
they're,
aren't rules.
they're guidelines for a particular reason.
Yeah, but somehow we're getting into regulating people's private property, R1, R2s. I don't think that that's our prerogative at all. I think we should be.
Yeah, so-
With the village
Yeah.
public things, you guys have to deal with the building regulations, condos or those, I mean, for us to get involved with that, other than say, yes, they should have a green space, and I do believe when they put in for those building permits, the in lieu thing is, well, I guess it's in lieu, but maybe you might have to look at changing that.
I think
The
our
in
land use
lieu.
planning consultant can provide a lot of clarity
Not a lot
on
more,
for the
yeah.
committee, because I think there's a whole difference depending on the zone.
So how I see this came up, how we got here was through giving out vouchers. So I don't think
At the
we can
fair.
give out vouchers for a planting. If we, if people just can't plant.
You have to have
You
some
know?
guidelines in place.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I think if we
your
just educate and the best we can, on what they need to do or help people educate the people on what we need to do.
I have
As
a
a
bunch of free
community.
chive seeds we can give to everybody.
I could use some.
Oh, good, I'll bring some next time.
I need some.
I think we're allowed to plant.
Oh, grass is good.
No,
Grass is good.
no,
Yes, it is.
in the summer you can't water it, and then it's.
Well,
You want a fire smart lawn,
No,
no,
you
you
can-
want a fire
no,
smart lawn.
you can
Yes,
have
you do.
grass, you can water a couple of times a week, or whatever it is.
It doesn't attract pollinators.
Yeah.
Grass.
West Coast Seeds has a wonderful mix
I
of pollinators with fescue mixed in.
I get all these nice little yellow flowers all over my lawn. I love them.
They're called buttercups, I have them too.
Yeah.
I like
I
them.
don't,
The dandelions.
yeah.
No, these are all good comments, you guys. Thanks for your comments. But do we, I really don't want to miss an opportunity to do something this fall in planting season. And really, even just a symbolic start to changing our tree canopy, even on this village property boulevards, if that's all we're able to do this year. But I'd like to do something this year, if you guys are supportive of that.
So
Are we
you're
supportive of this?
asking us to dig the hole?
Well.
Do you wanna be
I-
planted head up or head down?
Yeah.
I'll dig the hole.
Yeah. Chase, what is you go ahead.
Just on that about digging the hole, there is actually a potential opportunity, that might fit the environmental committee, at the McCombs Bridge. We have to do planting restoration there, as part of the project from DFO requirements. So, we're planning for this fall, to come in, kind of discuss it with the stream keepers, they might join. And almost like how we did a community planting day at the beach, potentially the idea of like almost a planting day more for environmental factors and restoring the red herring zone along the Miami River. So that could be something, if interested by the
I
committee.
think it's a great idea. Yeah, great idea.
Some of those willow spikes, is that?
There's I'd have to look at there's certain requirements from DFO for planting they need to put in. We've sort of put some soil in and we're gonna put the mulch in just until the fall, until we start planting. But there's a certain amount of plugs that need to go in and some trees in there as well, so there is a potential opportunity there.
Are you looking at ornamental type trees?
There is, I think it's more just
Flowering?
natural stuff in that area.
Stabilizing.
Yeah, a little bit. Like I said, I don't have the list in front of me, but I can look and see what the requirements were from DFO.
How could we get involved? I think it's a great idea. What involvement would you like from us?
If- So we're gonna be planting, probably picking a day in the fall, and if it's something that the community's interested, we could do another kind of style of community planting day and volunteers could come and assist on planting.
I think that would be great. A community tree planting day focuses maybe on that area here by the bridge, by the new bridge. And maybe we pick 2 or 3 spots somewhere symbolically in the village so that there's some progress being made and seen. Yeah, go ahead, Sharon.
We have a little postage stamp park called Peace Park.
Pete's.
Peace Park.
Peace, oh yeah. Yeah, Gary and I walked by it, yeah.
It has a little tiny bench under a little shed that's falling apart. It looks awful. It's basically a patch of grass with a couple of little flowers and this bench that doesn't look at anything other than it could, if it was turned the other way, you could see the mountains. But is that a place that you guys have identified that we could plant a few trees? It's
It's,
pretty bare on one side, somebody's whole backyard is exposed. There's really nothing there. The bench looks like hell. It looks like a bus
Yeah.
stop with a bad roof. It does not look good.
That's at the corner of Dog.
It's a nice little it's right on a corner. It's on the way in. It's on the right-hand side. People will see it. That might be somewhere you might want to take a look at.
We've got red dots, or sorry,
Okay.
green dots on there. Gary and I have already identified that. So I agree, like, that's an example, Chase, where we've identified
There's
a great spot, great
Already
opportunity. to plant
existing, already a
trees.
park, nothing in it. So it's a blank slate, other than what do you do with that hideous bench and the hideous roof? It's falling apart. It doesn't look good at all. But that might be a spot you might want to look at.
Yeah, definitely.
Just one thing to note there too is the visibility for traffic. You would have to be careful to plant the trees in a certain way, in a certain setback, when people turn coming, is that Alder or is that Emerald, right? Emerald, coming left to get onto Hot Springs Road from there.
But it's a nice corner lot, so you could
Mhm.
plant along the property lines and not affect, and maybe something in the center that would.
Yeah, just so-
visibility. That bench where it is, that bench right now where it is in effect a big tree. Cause it's right where it shouldn't be. It looks like it used to be a bus stop. It looks like it used to be a bus stop.
So not a super tiny off-leash dog park.
Oh, yeah.
Because
For little
it's
dogs.
very small dogs.
For little dogs, yeah, chihuahuas.
We're not allowed off leash dog park.
So, Chase, do we need, do you need some direction from this community, from this committee? Or a motion to go to council to direct staff to look into tree planting at Peace Park and some other various areas that we've identified?
Was there something with the drainage?
There will be,
project?
yes.
Yeah,
There will be.
Oh, right, this,
The drainage project will be
Yeah.
going through there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it'll be done,
Right there.
Yeah.
but Jason, it'll be done by the fall. It'll be well done by the fall, hopefully.
Yes, yes.
And which would be a good opportunity to dress it up.
It'd be good to do
Get some
some
trees.
after that.
Yeah,
So it's gonna be destroyed.
okay.
Timing's-
Yeah, I think just actually having this list would be good, so then you can identify the locations and see how it can fit within either current budgets or future budgets. But
Okay.
identifying that and knowing that's something that's of interest would be good for as a project, kind of gets through and we might be able to allocate some funding through the project to that.
Yeah, okay.
I have one more question, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Who mows McCombs from McPherson to the East Bridge?
That'd be our staff, yeah.
Who owns the first bit of land on there? Is that ours? Is that village? Behind the trailer park? Trailer park's down here.
Yeah.
There's a huge massive stretch of grass.
Oh,
From
like along the
McPherson?
roadway?
Yeah, from
Yeah.
McPherson
On the other
to
side.
the other bridge on the left-hand side. Is that ours accessible? Is it accessible to us?
Understanding where the location is, I believe so, yes.
along the person.
On the opposite side of these.
Man, is it
Yeah,
possible?
yes. Yeah, there's a big stretch.
We're here, there's this massive stretch.
I believe
And
that's
it's
our-
about, what, 20 feet of grass?
Oh, yeah. Well, if you're talking
Why?
about behind the trailer park,
Yes.
yeah, beside it, yeah. I
Yes.
see our guys cutting it.
That would be a great run of beautiful flowering trees.
Okay,
Just
Yeah.
yeah, definitely just trees.
It's
and
certainly a
stuff.
long, it's certainly dramatic
That's a
impact,
good
and a
point,
lot
yeah.
of people do. And as long as you don't block off, I don't think it would block off anybody's view of the woods, because they have trees in their lots.
We haven't walked that area yet, but Amanda, is it possible?
I
to
sent
get
that
this,
in a long time ago and writing, but I guess nobody read it.
We could get this up on TV for next meeting. maybe.
Yeah,
the map?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, if you just let me.
Okay, so, that's good. So do you need, do you need a motion or direction? We're gonna, hopefully you'll get a list from us as to, maybe we'll get some priority spots or a group. You've already got a couple, but
It'll be
maybe,
in the minutes,
I think-
there are a couple of priority spots to double check and see if they're feasible. We don't know about feasibility right now, it's just ideas.
With them Coons Bridge, with all that stuff at DFO, I would suggest the council, this committee reach out to the stream keepers.
Yeah.
Who are active in trying to make sure there isn't invasive and all. the
We don't need to go all the way to the bridge.
Yeah, so we just, I would just,
Yes.
get their feedback.
I think that other
Jan
bridge,
is
the second
so
bridge is going to
knowledgeable.
have to be repaired too.
The which
The
one?
second bridge is all wonky, is that getting repaired as
Second.
well?
The South Bridge, yeah,
Yeah, the south bridge,
that is a priority that needs to be addressed shortly.
the East End Bridge.
Yeah.
But up to the East End Bridge, not past.
One bridge at a time.
Just one bridge. But if you gotta do some repairing work around that bridge, then it stands to reason that we'll have to do some repairing work around the second bridge, the East Bridge. I'm guessing,
likely, yeah.
but there's a conflict past that is a lot of space
Yeah.
that you could do some beautiful little, doesn't have to vignettes of pretty,
So
easy.
Jerry, it's a great idea. I think let's try and get a couple of walks in before our next meeting, and we'll include the south part of the village, maybe in the first one, and get that done. You can walk with us, show us this area. So I like the idea about getting stream keepers involved. So should we, I'll reach out to Jan and we can do this in partnership with them. Are you guys okay with that? Doesn't have to be our
I was gonna
project.
say, 'cause there's several of us that are members of the street.
Yeah.
Inactive members or not as active as they should be.
Susan, you live beside you, or close, yeah.
What?
You live down the road from.
Jan, yeah.
Okay, we'll reach out to the street keepers and do it in partnership with them if they will allow us. Okay, anything else about trees? Okay, so at the end of this meeting, we'll figure out some times to walk. Is that cool? I'm gonna move on to fire escape landscaping. Everybody okay with anything else about trees? Okay, so fire smart landscaping. I don't think I've seen this before. I think this is a fantastic brochure. It's not necessarily specific to our community, but I think it's a great brochure. Has anybody had a chance to comment on this or to read it at all?
I did, because they came to the.
Yeah, right.
Event, and so I read it since then. The Johnny and me had a little discussion about, everybody going with cedar hedges. And we thought maybe something like ficus or laurel hedges might be more of a fire smart thing. It's there's some things that we need to try to weed out of this to provide some alternatives to people. Because cedar hedges were overcome with them and they're not great fire smart, so
Yeah.
we need to read through this and see if we can, just Johnny and I just discussing realized that there could be some alternatives.
It's amazing to see some of the cedar hedges that we saw. They're so thick and right beside, not right beside, touching houses.
Yeah.
Many different examples that we pointed out, right? We took, I think Johnny took pictures.
I can tell you, if there's a fire coming over that hill in Sparks Line, I'm gonna be out there with my chainsaw hacking down all my neighbors' cedars near my home. How's it
Sorry.
going? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right. Jace, go ahead.
Yeah, I have to head out here to another meeting, but one thing I should mention, so we have hired a fire smart landscape horticulturist for the village. Is an internal employee who had qualifications and started yesterday. So part of this initiative is to go through basically this landscaping guide and to implement some of these concepts and priorities throughout village-owned property. So you'll probably see this individual working in some of the locations. The first part is going to be Woods Park, which just to do general cleanup of underbrush and some limbing of the trees and just following the Fire Smart guide. So we have a bit of a work plan, but we're gonna be working on just different locations and kind of blitzing off different parks and village-owned properties.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I didn't, this is the first I've heard of that. That's great. Contractor?
Nope, it's an employee,
For the summer?
yeah,
Yeah,
there'll be, it's about a 5-month position, and then we've got funding to do it again in the fall.
Oh, wow.
It'll be a 2-year program.
And is his or her services available to the public in their private property? Not to do the work, but to advise, or is that still Tom?
To advise, like, it'll still be separate from the Fire Smart coordinator that Tom was doing. But the idea is when his name's Brant, when he's in the parks, we're looking at potentially having like a little, almost like a little booth set up, so people walking by can stop and talk, and he can kind of explain the Fire Smart guide, and if there's any questions, just to kind of help residents as well.
Okay. It's the Brent that was working with us?
It's Brant, yeah.
Oh, Brent.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So, yeah, he's been really good, he seems excited about it, so, yeah, we're excited to get this.
Wonderful.
Do
Yeah,
we wanna invite him to our committee?
happy to. If
Yeah.
it's up to you, Jace. Yeah,
Yeah, if we could have him come and just talk a little bit about what he's doing as well.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And would you like a public endorsement or support from this committee for his, or is there anything you need from us?
I don't think so. I think just if you're out and about and you see him, feel free to go talk to him and kind of get an understanding of what he's doing in Fire Smart initiatives, and we'd be happy to provide information.
Does he wear a big t-shirt that says, "Hi, my name's Brant"?
Because we don't know
Would you like
what he
it?
looks like.
A really
Yeah.
giant name tag?
I like that. Brant, Fire Smart Brant.
There you go.
Brent used to be one of my best customers in the chocolate stores. Are you leaving us?
I have to head out to the meeting, but.
Okay, well, thanks for gracing us with your presence. You know, this is fantastic, this landscaping guide, but really, and Fred and I have talked about this many times, the single biggest thing you can do to protect your property is clean your gutters. And I don't know if this committee has a role in getting that message out, but that message needs to get out a lot more, corporate officer, but encourage people to clean their gutters. And
We have a lot of elderly people.
Oh, I
who
know.
No longer clean their gutters.
They can no longer clean their gutters, and there is
It's
so.
dangerous to get up on a ladder.
Right, there's
I
so.
have-
I watched one do it yesterday with a vacuum and I just about died.
I have created,
86 years old on top of a ladder with a vacuum cleaner cleaning his gutters.
I have created an apparatus to clean your gutters from the ground with an indoor-outdoor vacuum. And I just hook it on my vacuum and I just go along,
Business
and
for
then
you.
sucks it right out of here, and then if it gets plugged, you
I
just
suck your
lift it
gutters,
out
but
and you
not for free.
pull it off the bottom, all the stuff falls off the top, and it just pulls it off. And I've gotten up and checked it afterwards, and it does a beautiful job.
Is it shop vac?
I use a shop vac, and I used a pipe from indoor vacuum system, a plastic pipe, and I just
I've seen people do
put
that.
an elbow
Like a
on it and
candy
just
cane.
sucked it all out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Works good.
so it's like a candy cane shaped
Yeah.
nozzle,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great
Works
idea.
good.
You know, Mayor Town had an idea, I think you mentioned a couple weeks ago about getting a drone or hiring someone with a drone, just to highlight and to demonstrate how bad a lot of houses are, how low houses are, because no one gets up to check their gutters, so. Anyways, it's very important. Do we want to, as a community, to get involved in that sort of thing, or do we have enough resources and thought going to Fire Smart corporate
It
officer?
might be a good reminder though, to put, you know, you guys put out those posters about events, just because a lot of people, that's a good statement, is the single most important thing you can do to protect your house is to make sure your gutters are clean. If you can't do them yourself, please call a professional. And when are the best times? And maybe make an advertisement once a month. Yeah, during fire season, just to
I
remind
like
people,
that.
just as a reminder, the single most important thing you can do is please clean your gutters. If you can't do it, phone somebody.
When we
I don't know who cleans gutters. I had a guy knocking on our door the other day.
build it into the Earth Day in May,
I know,
we can make the village.
part of
sort
that,
like-
but currently,
You can talk about, first of all, a lot of people don't know if there's leaves in their gutters.
Yes,
and you
exactly.
can't quite often see your gutters. So the question is, how do you?
I would have
inspect?
thought once or twice a year, when you notice it overflowing is when most of us do it, right?
Which is too late.
Which is too late.
So
That was my point. We
maybe
could have
we
just
can
a
talk to
reminder.
smart people and find out if the season for cleaning gutters is maybe May, before the fire season starts and after all fall and whatever comes up. with
Yeah,
these
after
winter
fall, for sure.
storms. But if you can't see your gutters, how do you know if you need to clean them, right? Like, go through all the expense. And the idea I had, I don't even know if it's a good one, but it's an idea that could be evaluated, is to work with the fire department to have a drone and just go up and take a picture and say, if you want, we can put a drone up and take photos of your gutters and say they're either clean or not clean. If they're clean, don't waste your money, right? But if they're full of leaves and needles, at least you can see and you can encourage people to do that. I don't know about all the legalities and possibilities of doing it, but it's something that somehow, or the village somehow
Even a drone
could
enthusiast could
just
say, hey, 3 day,
Whatever.
we're gonna be
If
in
you
this
want.
town, if you want your house checked.
just put yourself on a list, and on this weekend,
Yeah.
we'll go and
Yeah.
Check
take
the
pictures of
gutters.
houses if you wanna check your gutters, cause I can see my lower level of gutters, but not the top.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like going up on the roof.
And you're not
Myself.
86.
No, thank you.
You may not be.
No, but so there's lots of things that could be
Yeah.
done. It's just quite often, people don't even know their
But
gutters.
my point is just that I've never
Out of
heard that particular
periscope
statement
to your
before, but I think
gutter
that really will
cleaning
stick in
machine,
people's
right?
minds.
Yeah.
I have never
Yeah,
heard it
whatever.
phrased that way before, and I found that that's pretty compelling. And going, oh, really? Shit, maybe I should
But if
pay
you
more
can-
attention to
You can
that.
see your shrubs around.
Yeah,
Against the
exactly.
house, but you quite often can't see what's in
no,
your
that's why you have
gutters.
to get up on the ladder.
There's lots of stuff.
I can tell you after any good wind, my gutters are full of crap from the east sector.
Yep.
And neighbors' trees and.
Yep.
My trees, they just fill up for any good wind.
You need to patent this little.
Maybe we should hire Gary just to go.
No,
and clean
I
everybody's
would just
Lots of
rather,
spots out there Like
if I
that.
can help somebody, I'll help you.
Yeah.
Not my husband.
Sometimes
So,
sometimes with air, right, or vacuum or air.
My
or
gutters never have much in it,
on the
but they
ground.
do plug.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's, I put him up on the ladder, that's what life insurance is for.
So this, like, I feel very, you okay, Paul?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, I feel very strongly about this. This is not a sexy thing for environmentalists necessarily, but I feel very strongly that we, like, before fire season starts, which is coming up in the next month, I really think we need to highlight to the public this need to do their gutters. So I think we need a motion to support the Fred's or Sherry's or Gary's idea about drone.
Put out a
or
reminder,
periscope.
first of all,
Yes.
hey, if
Reminders,
you haven't
yes.
already, it's time to clean your gutters.
Yes.
So, are you guys okay with doing some kind of a motion like that, that council can endorse, we can have, and maybe put some resources towards a drone, Mayor Talon, what do you think? So that Thomas, or even as a demonstration project, or to at least direct staff to look into this.
What I know is that to do something, you need to think it through, and it's more than, that's why it's an idea. I don't know. if it's a
Yeah.
good-
And ideas are
This is
never
gonna
perfect
trip
or
on
formed.
10 other things. I
There's
think
insurance
messaging
costs.
today to inspect your gutters is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's a longer term
Start with
project, whether or not the village offers a service to inspect or photograph gutters or something like that for people that.
House.
Yeah.
So it's cost and it's way more involved. There could be legalities and privacy and everything.
All that
else.
other stuff.
All the
Your
rules
neighbor might
regarding
not
drones.
want the drone.
So
over
it's an
there.
idea, could be the worst
They
idea
start
ever.
with a kernel.
Yeah.
And then they expand and you go, no, that won't work because, and then you develop.
They never fully form perfect ideas.
But there's
Little
messaging.
ideas. The messaging is important.
Messaging is a now thing that can be
Now
done.
thing
I
can be
think
done.
any other
And every month through the summer,
Program
check your gutters.
requires way more thought.
Okay, so let's do a quick motion, though, to at least highlight this, if you think it's a good idea, a motion to redouble the messaging efforts by the village and fire department we can read wordsmith this, you guys.
I liked it,
But I
how
like
it was
to
put, the
focus on
most and the
messaging about
most.
gutter
What
cleaning,
was it?
Sorry.
and then
Most-
to focus on.
Sorry, can you start with that? Staff be directed to redouble the messaging efforts by the village and fire department?
By the fire department or staff, I don't know. Yeah, well, we need to redouble the efforts around messaging about cleaning the gutters to prepare for firestorm season. This includes messaging and perhaps a demonstration via drone about the severity of the issue in some properties. I'm happy to, if you guys have wordsmithing ideas, I'm happy to do
I
that.
think it's how you phrased it, so the single most
Just.
best way you can protect your home from forest fires to keep your gutters clean. Something like that.
Yeah.
You said it.
Amanda said it.
Did you say
I
something?
can jump in on that.
Amanda, you have a better way of words.
We don't, I don't think staff needs a motion to increase communications. That's something that, FireSmart is a program that is endorsed by Village Council for sure. And we regularly and routinely push out messaging on FireSmarting. One thing I will say is that we've been waiting to hear about the FireSmart grant. And so we couldn't do anything until we knew whether we were getting that grant, because that is the grant that funds the home assessments, the FireSmart position. And so unfortunately it came a little bit late in the year. So that the funding from the FireSmart program does definitely dictate how much the village can or can't do. But definitely we can, I'll talk to Kaylee, and we can certainly put out messaging about cleaning your gutters. That's FireSmart is a program that's supported by Village Council, so there's no issues with that.
What about this demonstration project about getting a drone up there, even on a few properties? You could volunteer your property as an example. Sure. To demonstrate the severity of the issue.
Yeah, I think that would require a recommendation from the committee, because there would be a budgetary item for a drone. And then we would have to look at what role the fire department would play.
Sure.
So if you'd like to make a motion for the drone piece, but in terms of the communications, that's something we can easily.
Well, maybe, even if we just, for demonstration purposes, forgot the drone and just put a firefighter up there on a ladder and a camera, a video camera, and just. I don't know, just for demonstration, video.
Start with the message.
I just start with messaging. I think encouraging people to climb ladders.
No, I'm just saying, we
I just
just,
want people to be safe and I want their houses to be safe.
yes, no.
Messaging is good. I really want people to be inspired to check themselves.
Yes, but
And
what
the
I'm saying
questions
is,
about what the village can do.
pictures on whatever, saying this is what you might encounter. I don't know, it could go into the messaging.
We can direct staff to investigate ways to highlight this issue, whether it be drone or manual climbing of ladders.
Well, I'm just thinking,
fire
if it was
department.
the fire department, they could whip over there, throw up a ladder, climb up, take some pictures of a dirty gutter. Add it into the information, I don't know, I'll go do it if you want.
Well, I think you could just pull that off the
Yeah.
internet right now. Like,
Yeah,
you
clean
don't-
gutter, not clean gutter.
I think
Like that.
the latest science in our fire department could probably help with that, or the wildfire people, whoever they are, say ignition of houses comes from embers blowing and starting fires in gutters and along the building perimeter. And that's how your house catches fire. It's from embers that come and catch something super combustible. Your house could have asphalt shingles or a metal roof. It'll still burn to the ground from the top down because your gutter, it gets in the soffits and the fire goes into your house that way. It draws in. And all houses are designed like that. So your houses are vented right around the soffits. And when there's heat, they draw from the bottom up and the heat goes up and out the top of the roof through your vents. When it draws sparks through, the inside, you burn from the top down from the inside. And if you watch the Los Angeles fires, they learned it just went house to house. It was sad, it was heartbreaking to watch. And just house to house to house, there's trees around the house and burn from the top down from those combustible materials. So there's lessons learned, and this is the same with the Kelowna fires. all that kind of stuff. So it's emphasizing that with there's the right people that have all these messages, and I think we need to find them and use them. We can't be experts in everything, but I think there's lessons learned. We can steal those
Gutters break
messages.
out from under the bushes next to your house.
Yeah,
Fred, I agree with you. All that, it'd be nice to add the local component of it. To show that, hey, here in Harrison, here's some examples of some gutters that we took drone pictures of this
Just
morning.
look for the
You
one.
wanna see
I've
some
seen
gutters, go to
trees,
Seabird
small
Island. that'll blow
bushes
your
growing
mind.
out of gutters and there's.
Literal trees growing out of there.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
yeah. Moss on the roofs, all that kind of stuff, on the shingles, it's all those kind of things.
So easy to maintain that too. Well, you still have to go up on the roof.
You have to go up on the roof. Yes, you have to go.
Or-
up.
You just need to
fly
throw
up,
some
or fly up.
dry.
Go at, yeah, I'm not saying don't, I'm just saying, just make sure we go with their eyes open.
Yeah.
So, corporate officer, do we, out of all this discussion for 5 minutes, do we have a motion that is succinct and that we could vote on? No? No, we don't. Yeah.
Can I just move that we investigate opportunities to enhance messaging about fire smarting perimeters and gutters in particular of houses? And get messages that, from
Stick in
people that
hands.
know this, and look for a local example that we could use to
Via pictures or drone.
Can you shorten that?
I think Amanda.
improve messaging and look for local examples.
I second that motion.
That could emphasize the message. And I don't want to shame someone, like.
No
I
addresses
don't want to go to my
permitted.
neighbor and take pictures of this, haha.
Yes, you do.
You're the problem. No, I don't.
The gutter police.
The gutter, please.
I'm working with my neighbors to make sure the garbage isn't on the street.
Go ahead, man. Corporate officer?
Yeah, I think it's a good starting point. I think what the committee might wanna look at, again, maybe part of the work plan is some sort of, like subsidy program to help people. So like, whether it's include, not necessarily like a cash subsidy, but maybe partnering with somebody to provide just even the inspection to see whether people have.
Need it or not.
Yeah, whether they need it or not. I know like when we had the green bin out, for fire smarting, people really used that, and it was because it was free and they could put their stuff in a green bin. So anything you can do to kind of reduce some of the barriers that are preventing people from actually cleaning their gutters. And even identifying what those barriers are, whether it's mobility challenges, financial, like paying for someone to come and clean it. There are several reasons why people may not be cleaning their gutters. So just
Sure.
looking at what the committee might be able to do to reduce those barriers, because ultimately we don't have a lot of control about what people do on their private property, right? Again, it's that public education and making sure people understand why it's important, and then looking at what the barriers are preventing people from doing it.
I like it. It's good. Are you guys okay with that? Do you want to add anything else? So messaging and reduction of barriers to this issue.
So the motion from Mayor Talon, seconded by Gary, investigate opportunities to enhance messaging about fire smarting gutters and perimeters, and obtaining information from people that know about this, and then looking for a local example.
Okay.
So it would be that staff be directed to?
Sure. I still like the drone.
It might be, but I think that takes much more thinking and make sure
Let's
that's
start the thinking.
a realistic and viable option.
And you might find some footage of drones doing that already.
You're right. I'm sure if we look on YouTube, it's there. And maybe we add that on the messaging. Here's a link to a video, or here's the video.
It's possible that FireSmart even has it. I know they have a lot of informational material. Unfortunately, I'm not the FireSmart guru here, but it's possible that FireSmart already has videos. They have a ton of stuff on their website.
Yeah. Okay, we have a motion on the table. I think, do you have it prepared to be read out? Okay, whenever you're ready. No pressure.
1 second.
Looking for a local example, okay, so moved by Mayor Talon, seconded by Gary Webster, that staff be directed to investigate opportunities to enhance messaging about cleaning gutters and fire smarting perimeters, and getting information from the organizations that know about this, and looking for a local example.
Do we need to add a time frame to this? Like, as we can see in Manitoba in September, or in Saskatchewan, things have started early this year. Could be a hot, dry summer, and then this starts in July and August. That's 3-4 weeks away.
We've got fires in BC. There's over 150 fires burning in Canada right now.
Do we put a time frame on it, Amanda?
To be honest, I do feel that, like fire smarting is something that the village is already promoting and doing. I don't necessarily know that, there needs to be a time frame. Like this will go right to the next council meeting, for council's consideration. Like in terms of a time frame, so when you say time frame, what exact, are you wanting village staff to go out and get a photo of someone's gutters like immediately type of thing? Or I guess I'm looking for a little bit more specific so that staff are really clear about what you'd like them to action and how you would like that to
Well,
go.
we
This is
have
investigating opportunities, right? So
we have 2 individuals on staff who are actively involved in the situation. The fire, Thomas Redden, I assume, and this new fellow for the next 5 months.
yeah, and Christy's very involved in
Between the
fire.
two of them, we can get some photos or drone or local examples. I just don't want this to get away from us. Fire season is weeks away.
But the information can start to go right away.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, okay.
That's the important part, is just messaging, repeated messaging.
Okay,
Can we put that messaging up in the community bulletin boards as well?
Yeah, I think the other thing too is we sometimes scale it back, like obviously when it's not fire season, because there
Winter.
are other messaging. And also people get a little bit tired of seeing the same message all the time, and it's not as effective. Sometimes they get a little bit overloaded with seeing the same thing all the time. So we do try to vary the messaging a little bit, especially seasonally, right? I think fire smarting and the communications plan with that it's something the village already does. We can definitely highlight the gutter cleaning, that's no problem. I can take that feedback. Yeah.
okay.
Good.
So there's a motion on the table. We've got a seconder of Gary. Is there any more discussion? Amanda, I assume you've got enough there to work with.
I think so.
Okay. Any other discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay. That passes unanimously. Okay, before I move on from section C, is there anything else about Fire Smart BC landscaping plan? Okay, I know it's not a sexy issue for environmentalists necessarily, but I think it's an important one. And I think our committee has a leadership role in getting out the message, so I think this is good. We had a couple of new items here. And sorry, I'll wait for Corporal. Do you want to introduce the next item?
Sure,
Item
the next
D, I think
one.
it was, yeah.
Yeah, that was from Gary. Was the next one the Bear Smart and waste storage or waste management?
Okay, Gary, go ahead if you want to elaborate.
I'm pretty sure the staff or the council is already investigating how things are stored in your yard, and I would hope we can expand that to not just, if you can't put it in your garage, you need to have it or should have it in some kind of a receptacle that is bear proof or bear resistant. And I think there's a lot of communities that help residents either purchase or buy some type of container that helps to keep the bears out. I know when I lived in Port Coquitlam, they had containers. Some of them were very difficult to use. Some were good, but it just helped to keep the bears out of the garbage. And because once the bear starts going to garbage, it finds an easy meal. Next thing you know, these things are ending up dead. they're being put to sleep. And they don't want to be put to sleep. I don't want to see them put to sleep. I don't think there's anybody in this village who wants to see a bear harmed. But I think we are harming them by not keeping them out of our garbage. We need to keep them in the bush. That's where they need to be, is in the bush. That's where they're safe. They're not safe walking around town. That's when they're gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
And we need to keep them in the bush, and they can live out a nice wild, free life.
Okay, that's good, Gary. And yeah, I agree. We did update our waste management plan to include the timing of putting up garbage. I think maybe we didn't go far enough in terms of guiding citizens to make sure that their garbage is locked up all week long, not just not just being put out at a certain time. So we're looking for ideas to how to improve that.
Well, not an improvement, but just another scenario of the reality of living in Harrison. And I live close to the woods too, just like you. My garbage is not out, never has been out, but yet I have yogis in my driveway and wandering between my neighbor's house and my house on a regular basis, and other animals. And there is no access to garbage, so they're also just wandering the neighborhoods. What do you do with that?
You scare them out of town,
Try and scare them.
because the only reason why they're in town is because they're looking for a free meal,
I
an
get
easy
it.
meal.
Yeah,
And if we don't give them anything to eat, they won't, why would they even come into town?
Yeah.
If you make it loud, I wouldn't come into town. I'd wanna be in the bush if I was a bear, searching out a meal. But if there's a free, easy meal, hey, you take it, right?
There's also a local lady, a local lady, Kellyanne Phipps. Have you met her? Any of you?
she's always in the woods, and she's started a bear
Okay,
page.
yeah.
Kellyanne, yeah,
Okay.
so she's taking information of sightings too, so I'm not exactly sure where her page is, I just private messenger because I see them every day, so just, this is where I saw the and this is where it is.
Yeah.
But they're keeping where she's getting reports. Her name is Kellyanne Phipps. I know she's on the Facebook, and she started
Yeah,
I think it's
Yeah.
through the cell phone thing to
that's great.
report the bears in town.
Yeah,
And she's keeping data on where they're showing up the
that's
most.
great. Okay,
So if you might wanna touch base with her, I don't know her well, I've only met
I've
her
seen
once or
her stuff on
twice.
Facebook.
Yeah, so she might be interesting to see if we've got repeated sightings, or get more people to report them too, so we can figure out where they're going for on a regular basis. Cause I figure we'd be seeing them all the time on the main drag with all the restaurants, garbage cans, but that's not where they're being
You don't seem to be the
reported.
problem. One of the residents this morning, Mr. Allen, said that he's got 6 in his park over here, and 3 of them have tags. So that is concerning too, because maybe there's still a practice of bears being dumped, if you will, in our area. I don't know how these tags are coming about, but they're probably relocated bears. I'm wondering if we need to check with conservation officers to see if that practice is still happening.
Well, I would say they're probably relocated bears, but and the reason why they're relocated, because they've been getting in the garbage maybe somewhere else.
Yeah.
They come here and they know easy pickings, come to town, nobody bothers me. Let's get into the garbage, nobody's chasing me
How do we know
away.
they're not our bears?
Well, maybe they are, it doesn't really
We don't
matter.
know where the
Doesn't-
bear's from, because we didn't read the
That
tag.
isn't the point, the point is.
No,
that they're
yes.
getting- They're
They're
here
getting
for a reason, they're here to get in there.
What about for people who, for whatever reason, they don't have a garage, they don't have storage, you can't build or afford a storage for garbage? What if we had a bin here on the works yard that residents could drop off every week? Instead of putting it on the curb, they bring it here whenever they need to on an as needed basis. And it's locked up, it's bear proof. Some communities do that, I think Worcester.
Have a
does.
dump? It's a dump.
And
That's a
you're gonna.
Well, yeah, but-
Yes.
Maybe it's not a lot of residents, maybe it's just a few that can't.
Well, they do have the animal proof things for our garbage cans. The problem is GFL will not unsnap them. Wouldn't it be easier to convince GFL to unsnap the animal devices?
Can't we unsnap them at 5 o'clock in the morning?
Well, we could, or 7 or
Yeah.
whatever, but the bears are out all the time.
Anything
There's
else?
that, I don't
Yeah,
know.
That's one solution.
But the bears-
The
The bears get into the green bins with those metal holdover snaps. They're smart enough
Yeah,
to
they're smart.
either undo them or just rip them off because they're strong.
Okay.
So
Amanda, would it be okay to maybe direct staff to look at updating our waste management plan to include something about garbage security during the week?
The bylaw?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe our bylaw doesn't go far enough to, or maybe our village doesn't offer enough options to help people. I mean, I get it, not everyone's, if GFL can't provide us proper bins, if people can't afford to build a shed, or they don't have a garage, we need to give them an option.
I mean, even
Before,
if staff were to investigate, if there is a type of container out there that would, maybe the village could see fit to help residents buy them, to keep their garbage out of the, bear's mouths, right? They could, then they could leave them in their side yard if they needed to. They couldn't put them in a garage, didn't have a garage, at least they're locked up.
Can I suggest just a simple motion that we direct our staff to investigate whether there are any bear-proof, resistant garbage containers that the village can recommend to residents?
because right now we're using our own garbage cans. It's the green bin that the village.
It's my understanding also that bungee cords and those snaps, the bears just wipe them off.
Well, yeah, even the
There's
green
no-
bins, they're ripping them off, so there is a, you can look at, can we do this? But a bear is a great big giant monster of a muscle and it'll just rip it
So-
apart.
I had a neighbor who had an 8-foot fence pulled down, so
8-foot fence.
wooden fence pulled down, torn apart. So even if you go and buy lumber, a motivated bear.
Yeah, but
can't
once they get-
pull it
What
up.
would they have that the bear wanted so much?
Garbage.
Yeah.
So maybe just a simple motion, I'll move that, committee asks staff to look into whether there are any bear-resistant or bear-proof garbage containers that the village can recommend, to residents to secure garbage
Better. It's not gonna be perfect.
24/7.
It's my understanding too that there's several other rural-ish communities, including Mission, that are having far more bear sightings this year. Far more interaction between bears and the population, not just Harrison. It seems to be, maybe because it was such a mild winter. Who knows? There's probably all kinds of factors, but it seems to be very prevalent in a lot of locations.
Yeah.
It's not just here.
It's a safe place, but
So-
there's no hunting area. I guess.
Yeah, it's,
But we do have a motion on the table, so do
Need a
you have a seconder?
I'll do it.
Mayor Talon's got a.
I'll second it.
So that was seconded by Shirley. So any discussion about that motion? No? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you. On Bear Smart 2, Amanda, and maybe this doesn't require a motion, but I'm wondering if someone from staff, maybe I can't even call conservation officer to see if in fact bears are being quote unquote dumped in the area. Sorry, go ahead.
It's a good
Speak to that
question.
a little bit. I know our bylaw officer is in regular contact with conservation, so they provide her with updates. I don't know how much of that information like we're able to release or whether it's kind of provided. I don't see the emails, so I don't know exactly what they do, but I know they definitely track the bear sightings, and if Jessica is advised of a bear sighting, she'll let them know, because they're trying to figure out how many are in the area based on the distance that they travel. Whether they're being relocated nearby, I don't know, but the fact that they have a tag speaks to human interaction or interaction with some sort of organization, not probably conservation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think if the committee would like to know that, I mean, the best people to reach out to would be conservation directly, I think.
So
You're
can
not-
staff do that, or can
Yeah,
bylaw do that? Sir.
because it's a little different if a bear has wandered from wherever and ended up in our community and says, hey, this is a great place to live, I'm moving in, as opposed to having another community dumping a bunch of problematic bears here. Are two different problems.
My understanding is relocating bears ended in the 1990s. Because
I thought so
they don't
too.
survive, so,
Yeah.
but a tag bear means it's just in the system, it could have been tranquilized for study, or it could have been a juvenile that was rehabilitated, could be any number of reasons why it's in the system and known to.
Yeah,
cause
not
hurt.
necessarily problematic,
Yeah.
just,
It could have just.
but we don't know.
Could have just been part of
The
the
point is,
study.
we don't know, and we're seeing all these tag bears. We'd like to know.
I'm
Does it
sure,
make a difference?
Yes.
Why?
Well, because if for some reason a bunch of bears are being in one area more than anywhere else and humans are responsible for that, I think we should know if somebody's decided, hey, that's a good place for bears regardless of why they're tagged to be.
I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. We don't know. I don't know as a regular.
I think for me, the real issue is we need to bear smart the whole village. And even if a bear, regardless if it has a tag or not, wanders through and happens to be here, it just keeps going. Right now, they're stopping because there's garbage. They have access to food, easy food, as Gary said. So it doesn't really matter. What matters is what we do now to stop bears from being enticed into the village and staying.
Well, my point is that we had one tag bear that we knew of a year or two ago. Now we've got 3. Is next year gonna be 5? Where are all the tag bears coming from? I think it's important to know still.
Yeah.
The problem with the bears is we gotta find a nice way to coexist with the bears. So the garbage is our problem and we have to figure out a solution for that. But I'd also like to know where all the tag bears are coming from. Because it's unusual to see so many.
I agree with you, Sharon.
I think it's a twofold question with two different solutions. I think we need to know. And one, we need to act, right?
Let's make sure we're not a dumping ground, number one, and number two.
I'm just
agree with Mary
curious
Talon,
because
we need to
it's
verify.
unusual.
well, I mean, if they're dumping them, you're not dumping
don't
them
know.
right here.
We don't know.
They'll
They can be
dumping
walking
them
here. We don't
in,
know.
You know, up the.
We don't know.
mountain somewhere.
Well, somebody
They're
can
gonna dump
scan
them
those
in
tags.
areas.
We don't know. What do they do with the tag bear?
They smell the garbage and they come.
Well, if it's been tagged, it's in the system, so they know the bear. They have a record of health, age, and other things and other information, I presume that's associated with.
So how do we find out about these bears? Do we have to call conservation and they come in and scan the tags? They have to. Hey, buddy. You know?
So
I
that's,
think a lot of it's within the color of the tag, gives them some information you can pick up from a
That yellow.
distance.
I don't know.
If the bear
Give
has
them
to
an
be
idea.
destroyed.
If we're gonna have Bear Smart, we may as well be fully informed on how the system works and what the solutions and
Maybe
things
invite
are. The
BC
bear,
conservation
we
officer
need them,
here to
yeah.
answer these questions, because they would know.
Amanda, let's do that.
Yes.
What do you, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I wonder about maybe, because I think there is a little bit of confusion or just not quite enough information about what exactly a Bear Smart community is. So like making some amendments to a waste collection bylaw, that's a step in that direction, but that does not make the village a Bear Smart community. And I think there will be costs associated with making the village a Bear Smart community, and might be a bigger project than public education and bylaw updates. I think it's probably a bit more, it needs to be a bit more, I think council needs a bit more information. I wonder about having Bear Smart come and
Yeah,
Bear Smart come to, maybe even to a council meeting as well, as a delegate perhaps, to speak about the program and what a Bear Smart community looks like. Because I'm a little bit worried that it is a bigger.
Amanda, I
issue.
think it's a great idea, because Lori, I think her name was Lori,
Yeah.
she came and the FERD contracts Lori out in her organization to look at bears. She spent a week here, I think,
Mhm.
and uncovered 84 houses that were, I think it was 84 houses that always had their garbage up for 2 weeks in a row. And so I would like to move that she comes to council as a delegate. If you're okay with that, Mayor Talon, you chair the committees, but
She
I think it'd be good to give us ideas,
A
'cause-
lot more.
I've read the Bear Smart stuff, and there'd be no surprise, our corporate officer is 100% correct, this is a way bigger issue. Curbside collection is not part of the Bear Smart community. It's a whole different way of treating with waste and garbage.
Yeah, maybe the end of curbside
Central
collection.
collection and removing it all from the village. There is no curbside collection.
On the thought-
That's the ultimate, like, it's
That's
really
where
not.
you have to go
And that
unless you do
Is
something
a
else.
very large step change. That's why I'd like to,
Keep it low
the
level
resolution to investigate if there are bear
containers.
resistant or bear proof garbage containers. That will go a long way.
See, so you're even operating on way more knowledge than we have, so.
Well, I've read all the bear spots.
Yeah, we have it.
It's all there.
It's all
Yeah.
online. I've educated,
Yeah.
I've tried to
Good to know.
understand what it is. But the whole Bear Smart thing, like, it's
Don't wanna
it's
go
way
there.
more than, it's so much more than the timing of when garbage goes to the curb. It's like the whole, how is garbage handled and managed? How do you you need a whole separate committee. You're going in, we need to educate the whole village to reduce attractants. So you don't want non-natural food. In other words, take out your fruit trees, don't have grapes. What about your vegetable garden? All these things attract bears in, and it's a much larger project and event to be truly bear smart, because you don't want to attract them in, right? So you don't need the fruit trees, those kind of things.
Bird feeders.
Any of those things attract bear in. How to manage that if you do have it, and then how to manage waste and garbage. It's essentially not having any garbage accessible.
Yeah.
So places like Banff, Canmore, Whistler, there's no garbage in town. It's all collected centrally in literally steel.
It's amazing what Whistler does. how
But
they-
that trips up another question, because the village you have a certain size of garbage can that you can fill once a week unless you buy tags, right? So if it's just how do you monitor that people aren't throwing in
Yeah.
small appliances and other things that are beyond the volume, or it gets more involved really fast. So, but it would be good to understand all those features, and then what
It's
steps
really hard
the
to give a
village.
good recommendation or even proceed with an idea if you don't have the background,
Yeah,
all of that information. We're just throwing
Bear
ideas.
smarting is-
No, that won't work because,
Well, we didn't know that, but this is how ideas turn into action, is that, well, that won't work, but this might, that won't work, but that might, and it's never a straight road, right?
It's never-
But bear smarting a community does not sound like an ideal way for humans to live.
No, it can be, and there's several Bear Smart communities. It's
Mhm.
just very
Very
different.
different,
than How things are done in Harrison right now. It's different.
It's much more about than just the waste.
It's-
The waste
yeah.
at time.
But it's good to make an informed decision then.
Yes.
And have that information, what those things are. And again, maybe the village comes to a point where we have tamper resistant garbage. Maybe we do more, a lot of it's about education and what attracts bears in and how to reduce those interactions, and how to not encourage or don't make the village an attractive bear den. Yeah,
And it is.
it's education is a lot.
You're taking the first step, but we have a lot
Yeah.
of steps to do, for sure.
Yeah,
A little bit at a
100%.
time.
And no one in the village wants to see a bear destroyed because it's been attracted into town. and
Oh, no.
stays here.
No,
That becomes a problem. No one wants that.
we haven't had any issues with aggressive bears, have we?
I hope not. and
I haven't heard any.
I haven't heard any, but I think conservation would be the organization.
Because
that
we
would be
see them.
tracking that.
Frequently, and usually all it takes
Yeah,
is
Mr.
that.
Chair, I've got to go.
Well, Fred, you're gonna miss the talk on.
Poo bags.
I look forward to reading the minutes.
You bet. Have a good day. See ya.
Poo bags.
Okay, so can we move on, guys, from bears, or is
Just
there
one
anything
thing,
else?
I
Yeah.
wanna compliment the village in maintaining trails well. And one morning that I seen a bear on Echo, I had lots of chance to see the bear, but because the trail was well maintained and the bushes were cut back,
Nice.
then I could just make
It's
a
good to
nice
hear.
detour, so, And I used to work.
Mayor Talon?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Mayor Talon, thank you for joining
Sorry I had
us.
to dash.
Have a good day.
and I used to watch the bears when I worked in Whistler way back, building houses up there. We used to go to the garbage dump to watch the bears.
Yeah.
That's where the village is now.
Okay, I'm gonna move on from bears. Is there anything else about bears? Susan or Sherry? No, okay. We're good? Okay, let's move on to the last one, and that is poop bags and this can probably be a quick one, and I don't speak for Johnny, he wanted us to raise this, but it's always bothered me too. I lost my dog last Saturday. She died. Yeah, she's only 9 years old. But our walk was the Macoons and Bridle Trail and all that kind of stuff. And my wife would always wonder why we have these like single-use plastic bags are outlawed in our store and in the commercial areas. They're not allowed to be used anymore. And yet thousands are being used every day, not just in the village, I mean throughout BC. And so many of them are just tossed into the bush or onto the side, and they're not biodegradable. You know, the ones that we're currently providing, they're not biodegradable.
They're pretty heavy bags that we have.
They're heavy duty bags, they're great, you know, they're great.
There's lots
They
of
do.
biodegradable bags to buy.
Yeah, so I think maybe if we could have a motion to have staff investigate
A
the
biodegradable
supply
bag.
cost issues related to biodegradable poop bags. Unless anybody else, anything else.
Well, that's what Johnny.
I think that's what Johnny wanted to do.
Is
Is that okay, Amanda? Oh, do I have a seconder to that motion?
Sure, I'll second it.
Seconded by Sherry. You okay with that?
The staff
You wanna read
to investigate replacing the dog waste bags in the village with biodegradable dog waste bags.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. Any discussion about that motion? Okay, all in favor? And unanimous, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Oh, anything else you guys want to discuss?
Next meeting.
Sorry, next meeting time.
Oh,
We do owe it to Johnny to try and do an afternoon one. If we can.
Not gonna be there.
I'm sorry.
I said, that's fine.
Yeah, you're okay with it. So, corporate officer, I don't have a calendar for me, but when would you guys like to meet in July? Are you guys okay with July, or are we all away, or it's the best place in the world to be in July? I think.
What time were you're thinking?
I think we owe it to Johnny to try and do an afternoon one this time,
Like what?
like 3 or 4 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
So the next normal meeting day would usually be Wednesday, July 2nd.
Wednesday, July 2nd.
Yeah, it's the
Wow.
first Wednesday, usually the first, that was what.
First Wednesday of the month.
Oh, is that what we're doing?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, I think the committee met a little bit more frequently when they're.
Yeah, right.
In May, but yeah, normally it's.
is anybody away on, that's right after Canada Day?
Yeah. I believe Mayor Talon is away after that, but it'll be recorded and on YouTube. if you-
Yeah, for
if you
sure.
can't make it.
It's up to these members here, but,
might be a good
how's
day.
everybody doing there? Sure, really, Canada Day's a Tuesday this year.
Yeah,
Okay, you guys wanna do it the following day on a Thursday?
No,
Your
if we're-
family,
I don't know, the second is fine with me, I don't know about anybody else.
is it not a stat holiday?
No,
It's
Thursday,
Wednesday.
No.
Tuesday is Canada Day, so
Yeah.
it's the day after Canada Day.
Yeah, okay. How does everybody feel about that?
Tuesday?
Tuesday? Wanna say 3 o'clock, Amanda? Is that good for you?
Sure.
Are you
Let's,
camping or?
let's, you know what I'm thinking about this, well, Ken can attend by Zoom, I can ask him, because we were gonna invite him to the next one.
Yeah.
Just Jace is away during that time on holidays.
Okay,
Just so you know.
that's fine.
Yeah,
You can
okay,
represent him.
okay. Sounds good. Okay, so you wanna do the Thursday or the Wednesday?
Do you guys wanna just get it done on the Wednesday?
Do the Wednesday.
Wednesday? Okay, so if you wanna set that up, Amanda, and
At 4?
if Ken's not available, let us know.
Yeah.
3?
Did you say 3 o'clock?
Yeah, what do you guys think of 3? I
Yeah.
think that'll allow Johnny to get here in time, I hope. And if he's not available that day, we'll do it in the morning if you want. To accommodate Sherry and stuff.
Sure, I'll put the invitation out and then
Thank you.
I'll see,
Thank you for your time, everybody.
I had to go out, I thought it was gonna be a grapper, but still,
Oh, you're gonna call that?
that's what the
Oh,
call
that
was.
was the call. Oh, yeah. And then we can talk about the date for, we're doing a walkabout. Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn? Do I have a
So-
seconder for that? Gary? Okay, all in favor of adjourning? Thank you. All right. Does anybody want to, feel free to set up a date? Do you want me to do it? Set up a time?
Yeah.
Sure, you know what? I don't have your cell phone? I just find it easier. to
I don't
say.
have a cell phone.
Oh,
I have a
okay.
house number.
So you do,
I have to go